The Met Office says last month was the hottest June in the UK since records began in 1884. We look at the impact on fish and farming. The Met Office has confirmed that this June was the hottest on record in the UK, with an average temperature of 15.8 degrees Celsius. The previous record, 14.9 degrees Celsius, was reached in both 1940 and 1976. Higher than usual temperatures are one of the reasons that so many fish have been dying in Britain's rivers and canals, as our climate editor Justin Rolat reports.
They were scooping the fish out of this canal in their thousands on the weekend.
Amazing.
It had been hit by another in an unprecedented series of fish death incidents driven in part by the record high temperatures in June. The problem? Oxygen levels in the canal have plummeted.
It's an oxygen reader that's telling me it's 1.7% oxygen when it should be 60% to 100. It was like a carpet of fish across the canal. It felt like you could walk over them. It was unbelievable.
So what's causing this? So here is what happens. As the water warms, it holds less oxygen. Now, normally, fish can cope with that, but if you also get a big storm, it washes in cold water and pollutants. Now, that kills algae in the water. Bacteria eat that algae. They flourish in their billions, and they also take up oxygen, and that is when you can get these catastrophic collapses. This June didn't just edge ahead of previous temperature records, it smashed past them, according to the Met Office.
So when you look back in the series that goes way back to 1884, the last time you saw anything close to that was way back in 1940 and 1976. What's staggering about this last month is the fact that it's about a full 1 degree above what we should be getting at that time of year.
The Met Office says man-made climate change made these record temperatures twice as likely. What's more, it says by 2050 we can expect every other June to be as hot as this one. For farmers, that means a fundamental rethink of the crops they grow.
We'll be growing a more sort of Mediterranean type crop than the traditional crops grown in this country. Spring barley and spring wheat just won't cope with a hot summer.
That could make some of our staple foods more expensive. The Canal and River Trust is using pumps to spray water to try and drive up oxygen levels, and they've tested the water for pollution. It is expensive and time-consuming work, and they have been dealing with an exceptional number of these incidents.
It's unprecedented. 6 incidents last summer, 60 incidents just in the month of June alone. And so that is, that's massively, significantly more.
Some fish have survived. They desperately gulp oxygen near the surface, but that brings a deadly new peril. Swarms of seagulls are feasting on them. So 3 really important messages today from the Met Office. Firstly, we didn't just beat the previous record, we smashed it. 0.9 degrees Celsius, a huge margin. Second, that was made twice as lightly because of man-made climate change. And thirdly, by 2050, we can expect every other June to be as hot as this June. Those are findings we should all find profoundly worrying. Sophie.
Justin, thank you.
1940 and 1976. New highs were also recorded in all 4 UK nations, and many counties were 2.5 degrees above the June average temperature. More heat waves are predicted this month and next. It's already proving deadly for our wildlife, is threatening for human life, and is leading to droughts and wildfires. Rhys Williams reports on the impact of the soaring heat.
Today, Llynfach Nature Reserve in the Vale of Neath is calm. But in June, this beauty spot was ravaged by a devastating wildfire. An extremely dry month, coupled with significantly hotter than average temperatures, created the perfect conditions for a fire which burned for 7 days.
It came from that side over there initially and then whipped through along the cliffside here.
The blaze damaged more than 100 acres of land at the nature reserve, where wildlife officers were already struggling to arrest an alarming drop in the number of water voles, due in part to climate change.
So as these weather events become more frequent, we unfortunately are going to see more catastrophic events like the fire that whipped through this ecosystem here.
Very low rainfall figures had an impact on urban wildlife too.
I would say we had probably 50% more hedgehogs admitted in June with water-related dehydration problems.
Last month was the hottest since 1884, with the UK recording an average temperature of 15.8 degrees centigrade. It beat the previous record held for the month in 1940 and 1976. It has the fingerprints of climate change, according to a rapid study by the Met Office, which reveals we are now twice as likely to see new records for the month of June than we were in the 1940s.
This year, June 2023, should be a wake-up call for future climate change. Not only have we seen records broken going way back into 1884, but also we're starting to see the impacts of climate change here and now.
Last month's record-breaking heat was felt in all 4 nations of the UK. Each one recorded their warmest June since records began.
Well done, David.
But the risk of extreme heat is heightened in older people. On the hottest days last summer, care home deaths were nearly 10% above average.
June was extremely hot ever I have experienced in past, and we had to do a lot of care and pay a lot of attention towards the dehydration.
Back at Llinfach, the green shoots of recovery are already visible. But in this valley and across the UK, there's concern that these record-breaking temperatures are becoming far too common.
OK, let's get more on this from Alex. He's at a lake in Solihull. Hundreds of fish died in the heat last month, didn't they, Alex? Now, just last week, you told us to expect these records to be broken. So just how much of it is down to climate change, then?
Well, Charlene, it all seems to be pointing towards human-induced climate change, and as we've been hearing, it's having a massive impact on the environments around us. I'm here in Birmingham, in Solihull, and this lake saw a number of fish die throughout the month of June, and that is being put down to that long period of heat that we had, reducing the amount of oxygen in the water, which led to the fish dying. Now, of course, it is hard to attribute a single event to climate change, but when you have a number of events, you can start to spot trends and draw to some fairly confident conclusions. And as I say, it is being blamed on human-induced climate change, and as Reese was talking about those records that have been broken, so June 2023, as I was saying last week, was going to be a record breaker. So our new mean average temperature is 15.8 degrees Celsius. Worth bearing in mind when we look at the bigger picture that 8 of the 12 calendar months have all seen new average temperature records set since 2006. And what was quite astonishing about June 2023 was just how intense and how long the heat lasted for. So we had a fortnight where the daytime max temperature didn't drop below 25 degrees Celsius in some parts of the country. Let's actually take a look at our temperature map throughout June. And if you take a look at the scale on the side, you'll notice that across many parts, across all parts rather, it's a shade of red. Dark out towards the west and also the northwest, where temperatures were way above average for them for the time of year. In fact, 72 counties across the UK actually broke their June temperature records, which is quite astonishing. That obviously runs in correlation with the amount of sunshine hours that we had throughout the course of June as well. And as you can see, as we look north, west, east, it's above average across all parts. And of course that does run in correlation with our rainfall, which we know was way down. Again, if you take a look at the scale on the side, you can see those very dark brown colours representing that some parts of the UK, particularly out towards the southeast and the southwest, saw less than 20% of their expected monthly average rainfall. All this, I know, is quite hard to digest, but there are signs that things are getting worse, and of course we all have to do something about it.